It's 8:25 p.m. on a frozen February night in Anchorage, Alaska. The temperature outside is well below zero. The parking lot is empty. And on a grainy security camera, an 18-year-old girl is walking out of her workplace, with a man close at her side. She didn't choose to leave with him. She has napkins stuffed in her mouth. Her hands are bound behind her back. And as the two figures disappear into the darkness, turning right onto Fairbanks Street and out of the camera's frame, nobody in the world knows it's happening. No one called for help. No alarm was triggered. No one saw a thing. And for the next several weeks, the city of Anchorage would be consumed by one question. Where is Samantha Koenig? But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to the beginning. The year is 2012. Anchorage, Alaska. A city of roughly 300,000 people nestled between mountain ranges and ocean inlets, where winters are brutal and the nights feel endless. It's a place where most people know their neighbors, where community runs deep, and where violent crimes like this simply aren't supposed to happen. But they do. And on the night of February 1st, they happened to Samantha Koenig. Samantha Koenig is 18 years old. She's a high school senior with her whole life stretched out ahead of her. She dreams of becoming a veterinarian. She's been saving up money, planning for the future, taking careful steps toward the kind of life she's mapped out in her head. She lives with her father, James Koenig, a biker-type fellow, warm and protective, a man who has had full custody of Samantha since she was just 2 years old. Samantha is his only biological child. She is, by every account, his entire world. James is a good father, a devoted father. He knows his daughter is growing up, that she has her own life now, her own friends, her own boyfriend, a young man named Dwayne, whom James has actually welcomed into the home because he knows it makes Samantha happy. That's the kind of father he is. The kind who bends so his daughter doesn't have to break. Samantha has recently started working at a place called the Common Grounds Coffee Stand, a small drive-through coffee kiosk. It's a straightforward job. Make the drinks, greet the customers, close up at night. On February 1st, she's working the evening shift. Alone. At 8:15 p.m., Dwayne is supposed to pick her up after her shift ends. Samantha keeps checking her phone, waiting for a text. The temperature outside is brutal. The parking lot around the coffee stand is dead quiet. Not a soul in sight. What happens next is captured on the stand's security cameras, footage that will become central to one of the most disturbing missing persons cases Alaska has ever seen. A dark figure emerges from across the parking lot. He's on foot, approaching the drive-through window with slow, deliberate steps. Samantha goes to greet him as she would any other late customer. She starts making a coffee. From the footage, everything looks normal at first. She's engaging with the man, moving around behind the counter, going through the motions of her job. And then she takes a step back. Both her hands go up. Something has changed. The man at the window has made a move, and investigators who later review the footage are nearly certain he's pointed a gun directly at her. Samantha is terrified, but she doesn't scream. She doesn't run. She doesn't hit the alarm mounted right next to the light switch, a fact that will puzzle detectives for hours. Why? Because the man at the window tells her something before she can act. He tells her he has a police scanner in his ear. He tells her if she triggers that alarm, he will know, and he will kill her. Samantha Koenig, 18 years old, believes him, and so she does exactly what he says. She walks across the coffee stand and turns off the lights. First the front, then the back. Then she goes to the cash register and removes all the money. She puts on her coat. She crouches down to the floor, and the man leans through the drive-through window and binds her hands behind her back. Then, in what investigators later describe as almost a single leap, He jumps through the drive-through window and lands inside the coffee stand. For several long minutes, Samantha is trapped inside with him. No one outside knows anything is happening. The parking lot remains empty. The cold presses in from every direction. At 8:25 p.m., the cameras show them leaving together. Samantha walks out of the coffee stand, her hands still bound, napkins stuffed in her mouth. The man walks close at her side. They cross the parking lot. They turn right on Fairbanks Street, and they disappear from the frame. Samantha Koenig has been kidnapped, but she left something behind. Inside the coffee stand, a faint light flickers on and off on the counter, blinking again and again into the empty room. It's her phone, ringing every time Dwayne calls. At 8:30 p.m., Dwayne arrives at the Common Grounds coffee stand a few minutes late and finds everything dark. Lights off. Nobody home. He tries calling Samantha's cell phone. No answer. He tries again. Still nothing. Because he was running late, Dwayne assumes Samantha must have caught a ride home with someone else. She's probably annoyed with him. He decides to head home and wait. He waits. And waits. At 11:30 p.m., 3 full hours after Samantha was taken, Dwayne finally gets a text from her phone. But the message doesn't bring relief. It brings confusion. The message reads, "I know what you did. I'm going to spend a couple of days with friends. Need time to think. You've been acting weird. Let my dad know." Dwayne is stunned. He has no idea what he did wrong. Something feels off, but he can't quite place it. He shows the message to James. Samantha's father reads it once, then reads it again, and his stomach drops. This doesn't sound like Samantha, he thinks. James knows his daughter. He knows how she speaks, how she writes, what she would and wouldn't say. This text message is wrong. Something is deeply, terribly wrong. It's now 3:11 a.m. Dwayne can't sleep. He's sitting on the porch outside, staring into the darkness, waiting for Samantha to come home, when he spots a dark figure moving around near his truck. He shouts at them. He runs inside to grab James, but by the time they get back out, the figure is already gone. What they don't know yet, what they can't possibly know, is that the man who took Samantha was just there. He came back to Dwayne's truck to retrieve something Samantha had told him about, her debit card, which she'd left behind. The next morning, February 2nd, at 12:39 p.m., the Anchorage Police Department receives a 911 noise. Officer Kevin M. is first on the scene. He talks to James. He talks to Dwayne. He listens to their account, clocks the weird text message, notes the mysterious figure near the truck, but he's working with very little. He's not even entirely sure a crime has taken place. "I'm thinking maybe she's got another boyfriend somewhere and she didn't want to come home," he later admits. "I don't know if this is truly an abduction, but we still have to investigate it as if it was." When Officer turns his attention to the coffee stand, he speaks to the barista who opened that morning. She noticed something immediately. The cash was gone. The register had been cleared out. The deposit bags were missing. Officers search every inch of the coffee stand. They collect evidence. But there's no sign of struggle, no blood, nothing to suggest violence. And then they get their hands on the security footage. Everything changes. Detectives cue the tapes to 8:20 p.m. and watch in stunned silence as the events of the previous night play out before them. The man at the window, the gun, Samantha's hands going up, the lights going off, her removing the money, her crouching to the floor, the man leaping through the window. They watch her walk out of her own workplace, bound and gagged, disappearing into the night. And then, A detail that will reshape the entire investigation. They notice the light on the counter, blinking, blinking. They fast forward, and at 11:26 p.m., 4 minutes before Dwayne received that strange text, movement appears on screen. A figure returns to the coffee stand wearing a headlamp. He came back specifically to get Samantha's phone. He picked it up. He left. And at 11:30 p.m., exactly, the first texts from Samantha's phone begin. The suspect sent that misleading message to Dwayne on purpose. He needed time. He needed Samantha's disappearance to go unreported for as long as possible. And it worked. Hours passed before police were called. The Anchorage PD calls for help from the FBI. They go public. They tell the media, this was a kidnapping. Investigators retrieve additional surveillance footage from a Home Depot parking lot across the street, and from nearby street cameras. The quality is grainy, not good enough to read a license plate, but they can see a vehicle, a white Chevrolet pickup truck. There are approximately 700 white Chevy pickup trucks identical to that one in Anchorage alone. Every single one becomes a potential lead. Days pass. Tips trickle in at 2 or 3 a day. Samantha's father, James, is not the type of man to sit back and wait. He takes to social media. He publicizes Samantha's disappearance everywhere he can. He starts collecting donations for a reward fund. I don't know if my daughter's being fed, taken care of, if she's still alive, he tells the camera, his voice raw and breaking. Please, help find my daughter. The city of Anchorage is on edge. Residents shake their heads in disbelief. I can't believe this happened here, they say. But it did. By February 4th, 3 days since Samantha vanished, the reward fund sits at $41,000. Days turn into weeks. It's February 24th. Samantha has been missing for 23 days. James is out at a restaurant meeting with the search party team when Samantha's boyfriend, Dwayne, gets another text from her phone. Under a picture at Connor Park. Ain't she purty? Dwayne's face goes sheet white. James and his family rush to Connor Park. On a bulletin board, beneath a picture of a dog named Albert, they find a Ziploc bag. Inside it, folded carefully, is a sheet of paper typed on a typewriter. A ransom note. The letter states that Samantha is alive. The kidnapper is demanding $30,000 to be deposited over 6 months to a year into a debit card account linked directly to Samantha's bank. Once he collects the money, he says, he'll provide information about where Samantha can be found. Along with the ransom note is a photograph. It is a photo of a young woman. She is naked. She is bound. Her hair is braided. There is duct tape over her mouth. Next to her is a newspaper dated February 23rd. February 23rd. A proof of life image designed to show investigators she is still alive. James Koenig is brought into an interview room. Sergeant Markovich places the photograph in front of him. James stares at it for a long moment. Then, quietly, he says, "Yes, it is Samantha in the photo." Immediately, James tells investigators to use money from the reward fund. That same day, $5,000 is deposited into the account. A trace is placed on the debit card, but with a critical limitation. There is a 10-minute delay between when the card is used and when investigators are notified. In a city the size of Anchorage, at midnight, you can drive out of town in 10 minutes. The city has roughly 500 ATM machines. They can't monitor all of them, but they wait. That night, the card is used. Officers rush to the scene. The suspect is already gone, but the ATM camera captured him. He's disguised beyond recognition. Mask, goggles, hood pulled tight, a large puffy jacket with the words Marine Corps on the back. He drives away in a Nissan SUV. And because the ATM cash limit is only $500 per withdrawal, investigators know he'll have to come back. They send agents to every single publicly accessible ATM in Anchorage. He doesn't use the card again in Anchorage. On March 7th, the card is used in Wilcox, Arizona, more than 4,000 miles away. Then again on March 7th, in Lordsburg, New Mexico. March 10th, Humble, Texas. March 11th, Shepherd, Texas. Each time, the same disguised man. Each time, a different vehicle. Now, a white Ford Focus. Each time, already gone by the time anyone arrives. The FBI contacts the Texas Rangers. An alert goes out. Be on the lookout for a white Ford Focus. State Trooper Brian Henry is on patrol when he looks to his right and sees a white Ford Focus. He calls it in immediately. The Texas Rangers tell him, "Do not lose that car." Henry follows from a distance, waiting for probable cause to make a stop. The Ford Focus accelerates. He clocks it, 58 in a 55 zone. He activates his lights. The car pulls into a local restaurant parking lot. As Trooper Henry approaches the vehicle, he's already thinking about what might be inside. He glances through the window, checking for hands, watching for any sign of danger. He looks into the back seat. No Samantha. But there might still be a chance she's in the trunk. He takes the driver's license. The name reads Israel Keys. The Texas Rangers and FBI arrive within minutes and take control of the scene. The trunk is opened. Samantha Koenig is not there. But what they do find connects Israel Keys directly and undeniably to her kidnapping. Inside, a gray hoodie, a mask, gloves, and goggles. The exact disguise worn in the ATM footage. And inside the pockets, Samantha's phone, Samantha's debit card. They have him. Back in Alaska, investigators execute a search warrant on Israel Keys's home. Outside, a white Chevy pickup truck, matching the one from the security footage, and a silver Nissan Xterra SUV. Officers make entry. They search every room, every corner, every space. Samantha is not there. They find a shed, separated from the main house. The entire shed is loaded onto a flatbed and taken back to the FBI building in Anchorage. When investigators dig into Israel Keys's background, they find nothing. No criminal record. No red flags. He has a girlfriend, a 10-year-old daughter. He owns a construction company. By every outward measure, he was an ordinary man, living an ordinary life. On the outside, no one could tell he was capable of any of this. When Keys is extradited back to Alaska, his attorney informs him that his computers have been seized. Keys makes a calculation, and then he makes the most unexpected move of all. He agrees to talk. On March 30th at 3:48 p.m., Israel Keys sits across from investigators and waives his rights. He knows they have the computers. He knows what's on them. He decides it's better to control the narrative than to let them uncover it piece by piece. He pulls up a map of the Palmer area, north of Anchorage, toward the Matanuska Valley. He points to a location on Matanuska Lake. He tells them to look for an ice fishing hole, one he cut himself. They ask him directly, "So you killed her?" "Yes," he says. A forensic dive team is dispatched immediately. And in the cold, dark waters of Matanuska Lake, they find what they're looking for. The body of Samantha Koenig is recovered. She had been dead before police were even notified she was missing. In his interrogation, Keys fills in the gaps that the security footage couldn't show. He tells investigators he had a police scanner in his ear that night, monitoring police frequencies. He told Samantha that if the alarm was triggered, he would hear it. And he would kill her. That's why she never pressed it. That's why she walked out with him. Once they were outside, she tried to run. Just around 100 to 200 feet from the coffee stand, she broke away. He tackled her. After that, she knew he was serious. She kept trying to talk to him, trying to humanize herself, trying to connect, trying to survive. Investigators later note this was exactly the right instinct. She was doing what she should have been doing. Keyes drove her to his house. He led her into the shed, just feet away from where his 10-year-old daughter was asleep inside. His girlfriend was still awake in the main house. None of that stopped him. He tied Samantha to the wall, turned on loud music to drown out any sound, and asked for her ATM card. She told him it was in her boyfriend's truck. So he left her there, drove to her residence, went through Dwayne's truck in the dead of night, the dark figure Dwayne spotted from the porch, and found the card. He returned in the early morning hours. That same night, Israel Keyes assaulted and murdered Samantha Koenig. The next morning, he woke his daughter up, packed their bags, and took the family on a trip to New Orleans. They were gone for several weeks. Samantha's body remained in the shed. When Keyes returned, he put the next phase of his plan into motion. He purchased an old Polaroid camera from a thrift store. He applied makeup to Samantha's body. He placed a recent newspaper beside her. He took a photograph, the so-called proof of life, that convinced investigators and convinced James Koenig that his daughter was still alive. She wasn't. She had never been. After Keyes is in custody, James Koenig becomes convinced that Samantha was not his first victim. He creates a Facebook page, "Have You Ever Met Israel Keyes, Possible Serial Killer?" and begins piecing together a timeline of Keyes's movements between 2004 and 2012. Tips flood in from across the country, linked to multiple missing person cases. The FBI asks Keyes directly, "Are there other victims?" "I have lots more stories to tell," he says, "if you're interested." He is willing to talk, but only on his terms. He wants control. He wants to manage what becomes public. The reason, investigators eventually learn, is his daughter. He doesn't want her to find out what he's done, and yet he seems to take a quiet, disturbing pleasure in the telling, describing horrific events in a casual, almost detached way, as if watching investigators react gives him something. As it turns out, James Koenig was right. Israel Keyes is a serial killer. He explains how he buried kill kits in various locations across the country: rope, gloves, tape, zip ties, sometimes a firearm, and then traveled back to those locations months or years later to commit crimes. It's a meticulous system designed to make him nearly impossible to track. Investigators spend months in interrogation rooms with him, bowing to each of his demands, trying to coax out names. But then a television news channel publicly identifies him as a suspect in the murders of Bill Courier and Lorraine Courier. Keyes finds out his name has been made public. And just like that, he shuts down. "I have no reason to tell you more information," he says, and he means it. On May 23, 2012, Keyes is brought to court for a scheduled hearing. The gallery is packed with reporters. James Koenig and his family are there. The session begins, and then, without warning, Keyes launches himself over the guardrail separating him from the gallery. One U.S. Marshal grabs him at the last second and throws him to the ground. Another deploys a taser. It takes a moment to process what just happened. Keyes had jumped the railing directly toward the section where Samantha Koenig's family was seated. On December 2, 2012, after 40 hours of questioning spread across 8 months, Israel Keyes is found dead in his jail cell. He has taken his own life. He takes with him every name, every location, every unanswered question. Investigators are confident he killed at least 11 people. They have confirmed names for only 3: Bill Courier, Lorraine Courier, and Samantha Koenig. Special Agent Kat Nelson, who worked the case extensively, continues pursuing the others. "It won't be easy by any means," she says, "and it may take a long time, but I'll never give up trying." As for James Koenig, the man who lost his only daughter, the father whose world was ripped apart on a freezing February night, he did not retreat into grief. He built something from it. He created an organization called SAM, Seeking Alaska's Missing, which conducts searches, provides support, and helps other families find their missing loved ones. Friends and family are also working to pass the Samantha Koenig Safety Act, legislation aimed at improving workplace safety across Alaska, so that no young woman has to face what Samantha faced, alone, at a drive-through window, in the dark. As of today, that bill is still being fought for, and the people who loved Samantha are still fighting. Israel Keys was caught because of a debit card, because of ATM cameras, because a state trooper happened to look to his right at exactly the right moment. But here's what keeps investigators awake at night. For years, he moved across this country like a ghost. He buried his tools and came back for them. He planned crimes in states he'd never been connected to. He lived a normal life, a daughter, a business, a home. While doing all of it, how many others are still out there? How many families are still waiting for answers that died with him in that jail cell? Some cases get solved, some confessions come too late, and some killers take their secrets straight to the grave.